Imagine a world where the dawn of Easter Sunday carries not only the promise of renewal, but also a whisper of an ancient prophecy unfolding before our eyes. What if the messages delivered in Fatima over a century ago were not mere warnings, but a divine call to awaken our hearts today? In this video, we dive into the profound mystery of the last Easter. The prophecy of Fatima is coming true. A journey that intertwines hope, faith, and the urgent need for humanity to listen. Inspired by the teachings of Pope Francis, who calls us to embrace compassion and unity in the face of global challenges, we'll explore how these prophetic visions resonate with our world now, stirring the soul and inviting us to act. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might change the way you see this Easter forever. Let's begin by stepping into the heart of Fatima, where 3 young shepherds received messages that shook the world. Pope Francis often reminds us that God speaks through the humble, and in 1917, the Virgin Mary chose children to deliver a plea for peace and conversion. These weren't just visions, they were a roadmap for humanity to find its way back to love and solidarity, values that Francis champions in his call for a culture of encounter. But why does this matter now? As we face division, conflict, and a planet crying out for care, the Fatima prophecies point to a critical moment, one that feels eerily close. This isn't about fear. It's about awakening to the possibility that this Easter could mark a turning point for us all. Now picture Pope Francis standing before the world, as he did in 2020, blessing a silent, rain-soaked St. Peter's Square during the pandemic. His words then echoed the Fatima call. We are one human family, and our salvation lies in caring for each other and our common home. The prophecies of Fatima aren't locked in the past. They pulse with relevance, urging us to heed the signs of our times, climate crises, wars, and a growing sense of disconnection. Francis teaches that hope is not passive. It's an active choice to build bridges. In this video, we'll uncover how the Fatima messages align with his vision, revealing clues about what the last Easter might mean for our future. But here's the question that keeps me up at night. Are we truly listening? The third secret of Fatima, revealed in 2000, spoke of sacrifice and suffering, but also of triumph through faith. Pope Francis invites us to see suffering not as defeat, but as a path to transformation, much like the resurrection of Easter itself. This video isn't just a history lesson, it's a wake-up call to recognize the signs around us and embrace the courage to act. We'll explore how Francis's emphasis on mercy and dialogue can guide us through the prophecy's warnings, offering a way to turn fear into action and division into unity. You won't want to miss this. By the end of this journey, you'll see why this Easter could be unlike any other. A moment when the prophecies of Fatima and the wisdom of Pope Francis converge to call us to something greater. Stick with me, because I'm going to share insights that will not only deepen your understanding, but also inspire you to be part of a global movement of hope and change. Let's walk this path together, guided by the light of faith and the heart of a Pope who believes that even in the darkest moments, love always has the final word. Hit that subscribe button and let's dive into the mystery of the last Easter right now. Let's travel back to the hills of Fatima, where the simplicity of 3 children became the vessel for a divine message. Pope Francis often speaks of the power of the small and overlooked, saying that God chooses the meek to reveal his truth. In 1917, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta saw the Virgin Mary, who entrusted them with a vision of peace, but also a warning of trials if humanity did not turn back to love. This wasn't a message of doom, but a call to action, much like Francis's plea in his encyclical Laudato Si for us to care for our common home. The Fatima apparitions remind us that even in moments of crisis, there is a path forward, one rooted in prayer, repentance, and solidarity. The first secret of Fatima revealed a vision of suffering, a glimpse of the consequences of a world turned away from compassion. Pope Francis echoes this in his teachings, warning that indifference is a poison that fractures our human family. He asks us to look at the world with open hearts, to see the wars, the poverty, and the environmental destruction as signs that we've strayed. Yet, like the Fatima message, Francis doesn't leave us in despair. He points to Easter, to the resurrection as proof that no darkness is final. The children of Fatima were told that prayer could change the course of history, and Francis believes the same. Our actions, no matter how small, can ripple outward to heal a broken world. What makes Fatima so compelling is its urgency, a call that feels tailored to our time. Pope Francis often speaks of the signs of the times, urging us to read the world through the lens of faith. The second secret of Fatima spoke of a need for consecration and conversion to avert further suffering, a message that aligns with Francis's vision of a church that goes out to the margins, embracing the poor and the forgotten. Today, as we see global tensions rise and our planet groan under neglect, the Fatima call feels like a mirror held up to our choices. Are we building bridges, as Francis urges, or walls? This is where the prophecy begins to feel personal. But here's where it gets real. The Fatima messages weren't just for 1917, they're for you right now. Pope Francis teaches that faith is not a private affair, but a shared journey. The children of Fatima were asked to pray for the world, and Francis asks the same of us, inviting us to be missionaries of hope in a fractured age. Imagine if every one of us took one step, whether it's forgiving a neighbor, reducing our environmental footprint, or standing up for justice. That's the Fatima vision in action, amplified by Francis's belief that love is the most powerful force we have. This Easter, we're not just celebrating a historical event, but a living invitation to transform our world. So what does this mean for the last Easter? It's not about an end, but a beginning, a chance to embrace the Fatima call through the lens of Pope Francis's wisdom. The prophecies point to a moment of decision where humanity chooses between indifference and love. Francis reminds us that Easter is about rising again, about choosing life even when the cross feels heavy. Stay with me, because we're about to dive into the third secret of Fatima, where the stakes get even higher, and the connection to our world today becomes undeniable. Keep watching. This is where it all comes together. The third secret of Fatima, revealed in the year 2000, is where the prophecy takes on a haunting clarity. It described a vision of a bishop in white struggling through a ruined city, a scene of sacrifice and suffering. Pope Francis, who has often spoken of the church as a field hospital, sees such images not as defeat, but as a call to healing. He believes that suffering, when met with faith, becomes a seed of transformation, much like Christ's journey to the cross. The third secret isn't just a warning, it's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, God's mercy is at work, urging us to rebuild with love. Pope Francis's own life reflects this message. He's walked through the slums of Buenos Aires, stood with refugees, and wept for the victims of war, embodying the Fatima call to stand with the suffering. The third secret's image of a bishop in white could evoke Francis himself, who chose the name of the saint of peace and poverty. His papacy is a living testament to the Fatima plea for conversion, not just personal but global. He calls for a revolution of tenderness, a world where we prioritize the vulnerable over power. This Easter, the third secret challenges us to ask, are we part of the ruin, or are we building the new city of hope? Now let's bring this home. The Fatima prophecies, through the lens of Pope Francis, aren't about predicting an apocalypse, but about igniting a movement. Francis often says that we're not living in an era of change, but a change of era. The signs around us, climate disasters, social unrest, spiritual hunger, echo the Fatima warnings. but they also carry the promise of renewal. The children of Fatima were told that Mary's heart would triumph, and Francis believes that heart is beating in every act of kindness, every step toward justice. This Easter could be the last, not because the world ends, but because we choose a new beginning. Here's where you come in. Pope Francis teaches that every person is a protagonist in God's story. The Fatima messages asked for prayer and sacrifice, but Francis makes it practical. Listen to the cry of the poor, care for the earth, forgive generously. Imagine if this Easter you took one action inspired by this vision. Maybe it's joining a community project, praying for peace, or simply reaching out to someone who's hurting. That's the prophecy coming true, right here, right now. The triumph of Fatima isn't a distant event. It's the sum of our choices to live with love. So what's next? This Easter, let's make it the moment we answer the call. Pope Francis invites us to be a church that goes forth, a people who carry the light of Fatima into a world that needs it. The third secret ends with hope, with angels gathering the blood of martyrs to heal the earth. That's the vision we're called to embody, a world where mercy wins. Stay until the end, because I'm about to share 3 practical steps inspired by Francis and Fatima to make this Easter your moment of transformation. You're not just watching a video, you're part of a story that's still being written. This is the moment where the prophecy and Pope Francis's vision collide to create something extraordinary. The Fatima messages at their core are about hope, not a passive wish, but a fire that demands action. Francis often quotes the gospel story of the road to Emmaus, where the disciples' hearts burned as they recognized Christ. That's what Fatima does. It sets our hearts ablaze, urging us to see the signs of our time as invitations to act. This Easter, the idea of the last Easter, isn't about finality, but about a pivotal choice. Will we choose the path of indifference or the path of love? Let's get practical. Pope Francis doesn't just inspire. He challenges us to move. The first step is to listen, really listen to the world around us. Fatima's call to prayer is echoed in Francis's plea for discernment. Take time this Easter to reflect on where you see suffering and how you can respond. Maybe it's volunteering at a local shelter or advocating for climate action. The second step is to connect. Francis's culture of encounter means reaching out. Call a friend you've lost touch with, forgive someone, or join a faith community. Fatima's vision of peace starts with these small bridges. The third step is to act with courage. The children of Fatima faced ridicule, but stood firm, and Francis calls us to do the same. Whether it's reducing your carbon footprint, speaking out against injustice, or simply living with more kindness, every action counts. The prophecies of Fatima warned of trials, but they promised triumph through love. Francis believes that triumph is already unfolding in every heart that chooses compassion. This Easter, you're not just celebrating a holiday, you're stepping into a prophecy that's coming true through you. Now imagine a world where millions of us take these steps. That's the vision of Fatima, amplified by Pope Francis's dream of a human family united in love. The phrase, the last Easter, isn't about an end, but a transformation. A moment when we say yes to a new way of living. The prophecies pointed to trials, but they also promised a dawn. Francis reminds us that Easter is that dawn, breaking through every cross we face. You're holding the power to make this prophecy real right now in your own life. So here's my challenge to you. Don't let this video be just another moment that passes. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Leave a comment below about one action you'll take this Easter to live out the Fatima call. Subscribe and hit the bell because we're going to keep exploring how faith can change the world. Pope Francis believes in you, Fatima's message is counting on you, and I'm rooting for you. This is the last Easter, not the end, but the beginning of something beautiful. Let's make it happen together.